All right, welcome back to the November 5th edition episode of the Quick Bricks NBA DFS podcast. This is your 44th episode of the Quick Bricks NBA DFS podcast. As always, Sean Mitchell here. You can find us. This is brought to you by the good guys over at Fantasy Degens. I also do a little work for at Fantasy Alarm, as most of you already know. But before we get started, just want to talk a little bit about last night's slate. It was pretty crazy. I had every lineup except two, and I had 6 lineups. So all of my lineups except 2 went for 300 plus. I only had 2 of those cash. We said it many times yesterday that you're going to have a very high scoring lineup. There was just too much value that had opened up, and you just literally. You had to pick the right studs and you had to pick the right values. If you didn't, you pretty much got smashed because there's only 6 games on the slate. Today, it's the complete opposite. There are literally no good games. I mean, as far as like the pace-up spots that you had yesterday with, Houston and Memphis and Brooklyn, the Nets, and there's just, the Pistons and the Washington, there's just not a lot of games like that tonight that stick out that are like, oh man, yeah, that's going to be a good game stack or that's going to have a lot of good value, or it's not that way tonight, which makes it better. I mean, again, there's only 6 games tonight, so once again, we'll go ahead and begin by, running down the games, spreads, totals, and then we'll get into the position. So, Celtics at the Cavaliers, Boston minus 5.5 on the road here, total of 213. And that's another thing about tonight. 215 is the highest total on the board right now, but we do have 2 games that do not have a line. So, with that being said, it doesn't look to be a high-scoring night. Anyway, so Pacers at the Hornets, no line on this one right now. I guess they're waiting to hear about Sabonis. He's questionable to play. It looks like he could play. He traveled with the team. It looks positive, so I'm not sure. But obviously, that's one we'll watch out for. The Hornets don't play a whole lot of defense, so of course we're probably going to be playing some Pacers. I like that game a decently amount. Spurs at the Hawks, no line on this one. Trae Young looks to be ready to play. He had to be practiced fully yesterday. Ultimately, they're leaving it up to the training staff to make a decision today if he's going to play or not. Obviously, if he plays, that's going to be a huge boost to the Atlanta here at home. This actually should have a decent total, I would assume, with the Spurs. They're not exactly playing the greatest defense, and they've actually been playing with decent pace this year. So that one's an interesting game. Next on the one, we got Lakers traveling to Chicago to play the Bulls. We have the Lakers as a minus 6.5 road favorite here. Excuse me. Early morning. I'm actually recording this pod in the morning, whereas most of the time I record my pods at night. So, still kind of waking up, just drinking my first cup of coffee. Actually, it's 4:30 in the morning. So, Lakers, Bulls. Lakers 6.5 here, 215 on the total, highest one on the board right now. Probably rightfully so. Like I said, the Bulls, we're going to target those early and often. So Lakers are absolutely in play. Magic at the Thunder, OKC minus 3.5 at home here, 204. I thought that was pretty interesting that the Magic are catching points here to the Thunder. I mean, the Thunder haven't been that bad. The Magic really haven't been that great. So it's kind of one of those ones anyways. So Heat at the Nuggets. This one is interesting. 210 total. Denver minus 4.5 here at home over the Heat. The Heat have been really good. They just walloped the Rockets at home, 2 nights ago. So this one's pretty crazy. Obviously, it should be a pace-up spot. As we know, the Heat, are ranked like 4th in pace. No, they're second or third in terms of pace in the NBA. The Nuggets are ranked like 2nd or 3rd to dead last. So this one will be interesting because here you're going to put the Nuggets in a pace-up spot because the Heat are going to want to run. So that's really interesting. 210 total on the board. That's the second highest one on the board right now. Like I said, we don't have 2 lines. So that's kind of a rundown of the games. Excuse me. Still getting over allergies as well. So, all right. So point guard, LBJ, no question there, 9.6, 92.5, and 62.3 in his last 2 games. 35.2% usage in those games. He's had triple doubles in back-to-back games. Playing in Chicago now against a team that doesn't play defense. I mean, he'll probably be 85% owned, but it's one of those spots where you're like, man, almost kind of got to play it, right? Malcolm Brogdon at 8.2, 28.6% usage on the season so far. Over 20 real points in all but 1 game so far. He gets a pretty fair matchup here with Charlotte. Charlotte's not the greatest defending team as well. another team that we like to target, right? The Bulls, Charlotte, the Pistons, Cavaliers. So a few of those teams that we're definitely going to continue to target, and Brogdon is definitely in play. Dejounte Murray, I really want to like it, but he's at 6-7. He's 6.7K. He just put up a 40 fantasy point game last game after he got back from his rest on the back-to-back. But he's only playing 24 minutes. Popovich has already said that, after about 10 games, which hopefully is about 8 now, 9 or 8, he's going to be getting the minutes bump. So we're going to continue to wait, and this is the best spot, of course. They're playing Atlanta. And if he was like 6K, if he was, in that range, I would probably go ahead and play him with 24 minutes. But almost being 7K, you have to bank on him going for 35 or more, and you just don't know. I mean, he easily can. He's shown it. He's got upside. He's going to have so much upside whenever he gets 30 minutes. It's going to be unreal, and I'm going to be playing him every single night. However, right now, I think you just kind of got to wait. Rozier at 6.9, 35.8, 46.8 in his last two. Indiana's allowed 8th most fantasy points at the point guard spot. 26.5% usage, the highest on the team for the last 2 games by 3.5%. Rozier's starting to kind of get comfy, it seems like. Like I said, he's put up 2 decent games now. He would definitely be in play for me tonight. Jamal Murray at 6.5K. You get the pace-up spot here with Miami. 29.1% usage, highest in the last 2 games. It's the highest for the team. He's been launching. He's been, all systems go the last 2 games. He's only 6.5K in what could be, like I said, a decent, nice pace-up game here. 210 on total, second highest total. I'm wondering who he's going to get as far as guarding-wise. Is he going to get Butler? Because, it's not like they're going to throw Butler on Torrey Craig or, even Gary Harris. I don't think I think they'd probably let Kendrick Nunn, play Harris. So the only worry I have here is that Jamal Murray draws Jimmy Butler, in which is not my favorite not my favorite spot at all, as we know Jimmy can defend pretty well. So I'm going to probably research into that a little bit more. Ultimately, if that is the case, I'm not exactly sure. But either way, I still like Jamal Murray in tournaments. Of course, I'm a tournament player, so I'll probably have a little bit. Dennis Schroeder at 6.1K, 28.3% usage in his last 2 games. Last 3 of 4 went for 34 or more fantasy points. He's actually leading the team pretty dang close in usage right now. He's getting it done. He's not going to do much more. He can dish out a lot of assists when he wants to, but on the other end, he's not going to do much more than score for you. So of course, that's one. They're playing the Magic, which is not a great matchup. It's only a 204 total. It's the lowest on the board at the moment. We know the Magic have a snail pace, so it's not the greatest setup, and I wish he wasn't as high-priced, but he's there. DeAndre Bembry at 5.3. If Trey, for some reason, doesn't go again, this will be your guy. 46 fantasy points last game versus Miami. 26.4% usage, 47.1% assist percentage, and a 17.5 rebound percentage. So he did a little bit of everything in that game, and it shows. He's only 5.3. Obviously, if Trey plays, then it doesn't really matter. So going to shooting guard, obviously Jimmy Butler at 8.1 in this game against the Nuggets, 48.8 and 50 fantasy points in his last 2 games. He's been amazing. I've been fading him. I look like a donkey. DeMar DeRozan at 7.5K. I keep going back to DeRozan, and he keeps killing me. But when you look at the numbers, he's really not been that bad. He just hasn't had those big, huge games that he used to have, of course, when he was with Toronto. He's with a totally different scheme right now, and it's not built for that. San Antonio, they don't want – I'm guessing that's why they didn't want Kawhi, is because they didn't – I don't know if Pop just doesn't want one guy to do it all or what. But, still yet, 27.1% usage on the season, 30-plus minutes a game. He put up 41 against Washington at home. Washington is ranked like second worst against a shooting guard. He gets a decent matchup here with the Hawks again, So I don't hate this at 7.5. I wish it was more around the 6.9 range, but I think DDR will be in play for me tonight. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 7K, 40-plus in the last 3 of 4, 26.2% usage, leads the team. on the season, but Schroeder has been leading the team for the last 2 games. Sorry, I should have pointed that out. Either way, SGA is going to be the guy. He's been the guy. They got him in that Paul George trade. He has actually worked out really well. He's been playing really well. And, of course, it's, again, it's not the greatest spot, but, you're looking at maybe having Fultz guard him or Fournier. Either way, I'm totally fine with either one of those guarding SGA. So I like him quite a bit. Jeremy Lamb here in a little bit of a revenge spot, playing his old team in Charlotte, 6.1K. He's put up 33.5, 42.5, and 36.3 in his last 3 games. Totally love it at that price. I think he's very, very nice value. And the revenge spot. So Marcus Smart, obviously your free square again at 5.7, 32 or more in his last 2 of 3. Again, Jaylen Brown's already been ruled out, so he will not be playing. So, of course, you get Marcus Smart against the Cavs, which we know we've been targeting their backcourt for a long time now, ever since J.R. Smith was shooting guard. So that has not changed. So Marcus Smart obviously will be in play. Dwayne Bacon at 4.9 had a outburst last game for 39.5 fantasy points. He has nice upside here. It's worth noting that I think the Pacers were given, eighth most against the point guard spot. Dwayne Bacon is kind of he's kind of the shooting guard and the point guard, but last game he fully took over. I think he had 21 field goal attempts, which was basically an outlier because he hadn't had more than like 7 or 8 in like the last 5 or 6 games before that. I'm hoping that's a sign of something. I'm hoping that's a sign of some confidence boost or something. Either way, at 4.9, he's definitely worth some tournament play. Bryn Forbes at 4.4, 25 minutes or more in all games this season, over 21.5 fantasy points in all but 1 game. He's just a decent floor play. I mean, his upside and his, he does have a decent ceiling if he ever gets there. Of course, but his floor is really good. Obviously, it's probably a better cash game than a tournament play at 4.4K. But he's been solid. Like I said, over 21.5 fantasy points all but 1 game. So, Diallo, the shooting guard for OKC, small forward, 3.5K, 20-plus fantasy points in his last 3, 18, 20, and 30 minutes in his last 3. So you've seen his minutes jump from 18 to 20 to 20 or to 30. He's just an athletic defensive freak. He's been playing well. So at 3.5K, and again, playing the Magic, it's not exactly a lovely matchup, but if he gets in there with that second unit, he could really do some damage. So Diallo at 3.5K for OKC, I think is definitely worth a flyer. And that kind of rounds out the shooting guard, moving to the small forward. Gordon Hayward at 6'4", 34.8, and 15 in his last 2. Cleveland allowing the 7th most fantasy points to the small forward spot. Just a small 20.1% usage on the season, but he gets it done in multiple facets of the multiple stats in the game. So Hayward against the Cavs, totally not against that at all. Winslow, we're going to wait to see if he plays or not. Obviously, he will be probably a play in that Nuggets game where the Heat travel to the Nuggets. T.J. Warren at 6K, 30.8 fantasy points or more in his last 3 or 4. He's taken at least 16 or more field goal attempts in those 3 games. If Sabonis doesn't play, I think he's going to be a must play here. He's going to garner a lot of that usage. Obviously, he put up 39, I think, last game, 39 fantasy points. And Charlotte's allowing the 5th most fantasy points to the small forward spot. So T.J. Warren be absolutely great play. I think he'll probably be a decent play even if Sabonis does play because, there's still it looks like Miles Turner is still looking to be out again. So that leaves the usage kind of open as well. So T.J. Warren totally fine with the 6K. Rudy Gay at 5.2, 30, 25.5, and 35 fantasy points in his last 3 games. He's played 26, 18, and 27 minutes. The 18-minute game was against Golden State where they kind of routed them. So I think that's probably why he had a short minute game there. But he's been typically seen in the mid-20s. The Lakers have a decent matchup here with the Bulls, who not really, who I want to target as much as possible. So Rudy Gay at 5.2 I think is totally fine. We're going to wait and see about Will Barton. Obviously, I think he will be a person that I would like to have in this Heat and Nuggets game if he does happen to play. It seemed like he practiced and limited yesterday with that toe injury, so he's one that I want to watch today. I Thaddeus Young at 4.2, 22 or more fantasy points in his last 4, 22 minutes or more in his last 4. He's double-digit field goal attempts in his last 3 or 4. He's got a nice home matchup here with the Lakers. He's been, decent at best. He hasn't been great, but at his price, again, it's kind of like a Brent Forbes. He's had a decent floor, so if you want to go there, I'm totally fine with it. If for some reason Justice Winslow does not play again, I'll be looking at Duncan Robinson here at 4K, 39 fantasy points last game in a spot start. Put up 23 points, 6 rebounds, 1 assist, and 2 blocks. So, of course, not probably as good a matchup he'll have here with the Nuggets, but at 4K, if he's going to get the start again and play those kind of minutes, the opportunity will be there. Darius Bazley, the rookie for OKC at 3.5K, played 19 minutes last game, 26.3 fantasy points. He's not getting a lot of minutes. They really love this guy, though. I'm not sure he's going to get any more minutes than that, so it's one of them things where it's kind of like flyer play, And on top of it, again, they're playing the Magic, slow-paced team, pretty decent defensive team, so I just wanted to throw him out there. I don't know if I'll play him or not. So moving on to power forward, I wrote down Jakar Sampson for the simple sole reason that if Sabonis doesn't play and he gets another start, he played like 26 minutes, I think. Didn't put up very many fantasy points, but we know he can. He was one of those guys last year that got spot starts and totally dominated, and nobody played him. So if he does happen to get a start again, Jakar Sampson will be something worth looking at. So moving on to power forward, AD at 10K. Don't need to really talk about this. He had a post yesterday about saying Chicago is where basketball originated and started and all this good mess, so I'd probably look for him to have 80-point fantasy point game. But probably my favorite play in my roster monster is going to be Kevin Love at 8.8. The guy's just been totally smashing, over 52 in his last 3 or 5. He's playing Boston, who's allowing the 5th most fantasy points to the power forward spot. I mean, he's, again, 21.7% usage, 20.2 assist percentage, 20.1 total rebound percentage on the season. He's doing a little bit of everything. He's looking like the old Kevin Love from the Minnesota Timberwolves days. I mean, Boston doesn't have anybody. It looks like Cantor is, he looks like he's doubtful to play. They're starting Daniel Tice at the 5. Tatum cannot guard Kevin Love. I'm sorry. He's good, but he's not that good. So Kevin Love at home here at 8.8, he's going to be my roster monster. He's my guy tonight. He'll be the one I'll be building around. Sabonis at 8.3 if he plays versus Charlotte. Really want to play this one. Targeting that Charlotte team. Second most. Charlotte's allowing the second most fantasy points to the power forward spot. 5th most to the center spot. So either way he goes there, he's in a great matchup. John Collins at 8K. 30-plus in all home games so far. San Antonio's allowing the 3rd most of the power forward spot, so it looks like he'll play. He just had a small, ankle banger last game, came back in, played the rest of the game, still played 33 minutes, so I'm totally fine with John Collins. I don't really love the price on him, but I think this is a fair matchup with San Antonio at home here. I think if Trey actually plays, it might help him a little more, because then, they won't all attract to him. So Collins, not sure how much I'll have at 8K. I think his price is just a little up there. Lauri Markkanen at 6.3. Hasn't been that great this year, but, he's still put over 30 fantasy points in his last 3 or 4 games. He's, carrying a 24.2% usage. He's the only one that's, below Levine right there in the usage rank. He's getting looks. He's just, hadn't been exactly banging out those big games that we know he can. He has the upside. And at 6.3, I think you're getting really a little bit of a discount price here. I know he's playing the Lakers, and I know he's playing against AD. So it's not exactly the greatest spot. But at 6.3, I don't think anybody, trust me, I think there will be a lot of Laker Bulls game stacks. So he'll garner some ownership. He kind of has to. But I don't think I mind him even as maybe a one-off in tournaments and stuff. I don't know. I'm kind of still mulling that one over. P.J. Washington at 6.1 for Charlotte. If no Sabonis, I still like it even if Sabonis does play. I still think he's a fine play at 6.1K. He's averaging 33 minutes a game. He's scored in double digits in all but one game. He's been playing well for Charlotte. He's a rookie. He hadn't been scared. He's been taking a lot of shots, and he's been mildly successful. So he's been, I think he's averaging around the 24, 25 fantasy points per game. So his floor is pretty decent. He's got a decent ceiling too. So P.J. Washington in that game, I totally don't mind. Jabari at 5K, 25 minutes last game, 36 and a half. If Collins, for whatever, is limited, or either way, Jabari's going to see 25 minutes or so. He finally had a decent game last game. And here, like I said, he gets a decent matchup with, the Spurs. So, and again, I mentioned that San Antonio is allowing the third most fantasy points to the power forward spot. So Jabari is totally fine. Daniel Tice at 4.8. Again, he's probably going to get the start, and he played 27 minutes the last game, 26 the game before. Just one of those plays. One more that I want to mention here has been playing really well. Myers Leonard at 4.5K, and I'm absolutely sure they'll probably be playing him again in this game. His price went up $800. It's 4.5K now. It was 3.7 last game. 34.5, 35.5 fantasy points in his last two games. He's played at least 25 or more minutes in the last three games. He's shown that he's been playing really well. You can't take that away from him. So Myers Leonard at 4.5K absolutely is in play here with that pace up matchup with the Nuggets. Moving over to the center spot, Nikola Jokic, 9.4. He's only had two home games this year, and guess what? 66 and 46 fantasy points. No, 66 and a half and 46 fantasy points in his only two home games. I could easily see him getting Bam in foul trouble. Bam is one of those guys that loves to get blocks, and I'm sorry, but this is not the guy that you're going to want to try to do that against. So I could easily see Bam getting in foul trouble. So Jokic, I think, is probably going to be a smash play at center spot. But probably my favorite play, of course, in the center is going to be Tristan Thompson here at 7.1, 39.5 fantasy points in his last 4 or 5, double-digit rebounds in every single game except one. The Boston's allowing the 7th most fantasy points to the center spot. Canner's doubtful. Tice is starting. I'll put Tristan Thompson against Daniel Tice every day of the week. So Tristan Thompson at 7.1, totally fine with. I love him and I love him and love. Well, anyway, Thompson 7.1, Cody Zeller at 6.5. No Turner maybe he's doubtful. I'm sure he's not going to play. He's still playing lots of minutes. Only played 20 minutes last game because it was kind of a bit of a runaway game there. I forgot who they're playing. Either way, over 32.5 fantasy points in all but one game. So Cody Zeller at 6.5, totally fine with. Steven Adams is one we want to monitor. It looks like he's questionable. Even Nerlens Noel is probable. I guess he had a little bit of a banger on his ankle too or something. Had some kind of injury last game. Either way, those two would be something to monitor. And last but not least, if you want to punt, I think Millsap at home here, Paul Millsap at 4.7K in this pace-up spot. If they do happen to get Bam in trouble, that could lead to like Kelly Olynyk or, Chris Silva or something like that coming in for Miami. I think that could probably bode well for Millsap because he's a crafty veteran, and his home and road splits are crazy. He's just like a homebody. He plays so much better at home. If you get a chance, look at it. But at 4.7K, if you want to punt here at center or even play him at power forward or a forward spot, I think he's totally fine. I think he has decent value at 4.7. That's really cheap. So that is it. That is it for this edition of the Quick Bricks NBA DFS podcast. I got to get ready for work, so enjoy your Monday and have a great day.